So hello everyone, and welcome back to Sakura Unboxing. So in today's video, it's going to be a pretty special unboxing because I have another big resin figure I'm going to be unboxing today. Again, I am no connoisseur in resin figures, and they're just way too big for my small room, but I made an exception for this one because it is of one of my husbandos who doesn't have any figures, so I decided to pick this up to finally have a figure of him in my collection. So I'm gonna have to change the setup a little bit because, again, it's a big resin box and it's heavy, so I can't really show it up here. So yes, let us get into the figure I'll be reviewing for you all today. And that is this massive resin figure right here, which thankfully I was able to carry and prop up on my table up here and not show him off on the floor. This is, of course, the Okami Waka exclusive edition by First4Figures. One of my favorite husbandos of all time. I love the game Okami so much, and now he's finally in my hands. One of my top favorite husbandos of all time. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm a little bit nervous because, again, this is resin, and yes, it is humongous, this freaking box. Yes, of course, I had to go all out and get the exclusive edition, which comes with multiple parts, and I believe the base also lights up, which is cool. So yeah, I'm gonna actually just unbox him off camera, at least like getting him out of this box right here, which unfortunately received some damage. I hope none of the pieces are broken or anything, but it did get unfortunately pretty dented in a few areas. So yeah, I'm nervous about that. So yeah, I'll pretty much be taking him out of this box, and then I'm gonna do like the same sort of format I've done with the power resin figure that I had, where I just show a top-down view and show all the pieces off on camera. So yes, without further ado, let us just get into also some general information about this figure. So before we get into some general information about this figure, once again a quick note, I am recording this very late into 2025, November to be exact, and of course, and thankfully, I did get this figure pre-tariff, so there won't be any tariff cost estimates in this section. I do apologize, but I'm not 100% sure what exactly they would be, and I don't want to give any wrong information. Now, going into some general information about this figure, so he is a resin statue, of course manufactured by First4Figures, and on my figure collection it says he has a Q2 2025 release date. So of course resin statues, they tend to go by Q1, Q2, Q3, or Q4, the Q of course meaning quarter. I feel like resin statues really don't say like what month the figure is supposed to release for the most part. Again, I apologize, I'm not a resin figure expert, but that's like more towards a little bit of the beginning of the new year. When I got the shipment for this figure, like the notification, I got him in March of 2025, so I'm gonna say he had, you know, roughly a March 2025 release date. And then also going into the dimensions of this figure, so he measures roughly 16.38 inches in width, 14.63 inches in length, and then 19.89 inches in height. And I should also mention the shipping courier who delivered this package to me. I had to use like a universal tracker because I wasn't sure which one delivered the package to me. And unfortunately, because the tracking number is so old, it doesn't show when the figure was shipped and how long it took to get to me, so unfortunately I don't have that information. But it did say that UPS was the shipping courier. So yes, they did the final delivery for the resin statue. I'm not too sure if this is for like every First4Figures figure, but I just thought I include that information here. And now we are moving on to the cost of this figure. So of course, as this is a resin statue, it is going to be very expensive. So yes, I of course got the definitive edition of this figure because of course I wanted all the exclusive parts. So yes, this figure came out to a grand total of $588.99 USD, which is absolutely crazy. Another reason why I tend not to collect resin figures, they're just very, very expensive. So yes, crazy grand total, but thankfully First4Figures allows for payment plans. Of course, you do have the option to pay for it all up front, but as you all know, I'm the type of person who likes to pre-order and pay later once the item actually releases. And thankfully First4Figures does, of course, have several different payment plans. I of course went for the one where I would have to pay the least each month, which was the 8-month plan, which means for the course of 8 months I would have to pay $53 each month. And so I did have to pay for, you know, a little bit up front, which was $87 when I placed the order for the figure. So of course that goes towards the $588.99, which gets deducted to $501.99 USD. And then for the next 8 months after that, I would be paying the $53, and then the final payment, which was $77.99 USD. The shipping and handling for this figure was $75, which honestly thought it would have been a lot worse considering this is a resin figure. I don't know, that's just my opinion. Thought it would have been worse. And I did have some slight discounts. I did buy actually another figure from their website for actually my sister as a Christmas gift. For those wondering, it was the First4Figures Rivali PVC figure from Breath of the Wild because she loves that game. So yeah, I used some of the points from that figure to go towards this Waka figure. And then there was the early bird discount, which was $10, which is not the most helpful discount, but you know, we'll take what we can get. So yeah, hopefully that breakdown was a little bit helpful. I don't really use their website at all. I mean, I only really bought 2 figures from them. But it was overall a pretty straightforward and not too difficult experience, thankfully. And I believe you can also change the payment plan if you would like to, if you just want to, you know, pay a little bit more each month. You can at least do that, which is nice. So yeah, overall I'd say pretty good experience with using their website with getting this figure. So now this section I'm just going to do a voiceover for, but this is getting the resin parts out of the box itself. Of course, it came in this giant styrofoam box with tape all around it just to keep everything sealed. So yes, I'm gonna just show this. I'm just gonna do a voiceover to make it a little bit easier, but we have of course the authenticity card right here, which I did redeem for points on the First4Figures website. In case I want to purchase any other figures, I can get some you know, a little bit of a discount from the points. And yeah, so I just cut off the tape on the side. Now, I do admit, I wish that instead of tape, they ended up using like Velcro, which a lot of resin figures do tend to use, just for security and just, you know, because it's tape, it's going to be very hard to just put back together. So I just ended up throwing the tape out. So yeah, hopefully I can get some like giant, like very sturdy Velcro, just to keep the styrofoam pieces together whenever I do put this figure back in this packaging. So yeah, I'm just going through mainly the individual pieces, like one at a time. Some parts you can tell I definitely was talking over, like with Waka's torso, just describing a few things. But yeah, you'll see that all in the assembly portion of this video, when I put the figure together, of course, and you know, figure b-roll as well once it's all set up. But yeah, this is how everything came packaged. There is a couple of little like white coverings just to protect the paint on the figure from scratching, some little styrofoam cutouts as well. overall, I feel like it's pretty nicely packaged in here, and thankfully nothing came completely broken, which is the most important part, because then some of these pieces would be a little bit annoying to put back together. And as you can see right here, we have Pillow Talk. Of course, this only comes with the exclusive edition. Has quite an interesting little texture to it. Almost feels like gritty in a way, but yeah, that glows in the dark. And of course, this scabbard here. And then this sword, of course, also comes with the exclusive edition as well. Very nicely done. Very nice paint job. And yeah, so with this packaging, there was 2 layers overall, which I was kind of surprised about. As you can see, the base is the next layer, yeah, and I just pretty much just describing how thick the styrofoam is, which is always good. And yeah, now we have just Waka's head and the base, and then there's this little USB cable for the light up feature for the base, if you want to connect it to like a little power outlet. There's that. And then me kind of struggling to get this out. Again, it is heavy, so I would just be careful about that. It was a little bit tricky just to kind of get my hands in there. Also, this battery, if you don't want to use the little USB, there's this option as well, which is nice. And then I just decided to take Waka's head off first, just trying to be careful there. Again, he looks stunning. He's so handsome. So yeah, very nice headpiece right here. And yeah, just talking a lot through it, so I apologize, but at least you get to see the head up close during this part. And yeah. Oh yeah, I mentioned that, yeah, it's just his legs were attached to the base. So yeah, trying to get this base out was a little bit annoying. Again, it is heavy, so just be very careful. And I didn't know where to grab it. I was worried about some of the plans possibly coming off, and then I think I was just talking in this section of how like out of breath I was, and thankfully all came out easily. And yeah, that's pretty much all the pieces of the box. Thankfully everything was fine and nothing broke at the end of the day. Okay, so after all of that struggling to get the base out of the styrofoam, it's finally on my little rolly table right here. And we have only half of his body, which I find kind of funny. So at the bottom of the base, it does say, of course, like Waka exclusive edition First4Figures, and it does also say the number figure you got. So I got number 42 out of 300 that were made of him. So yeah, very limited quantity of these figures, so I'm happy to have picked him up. And yeah, first things first, when seeing him like fully, you know, colored and stuff, like the promo pictures. So the one thing I do worry about this figure in terms of like long-term display is if he could possibly break off this base. The reason why I say is because obviously his shoes have like these long stilts. And if I do like this a little bit, like if I wiggle it, it's like not a lot. Obviously don't be so forceful, you could possibly break it off. But I'm worried about with the weight of the resin, if it could possibly topple over and fall into the floor. I'd be very devastated about that. Because there's obviously no support poles with this figure, so I'm just nervous about long-term display. So yeah, half of his body right here. Oh shoot, I did notice in the back though, it could be my fault, but unfortunately some of the paint chipped off his shoe on the back where his heel is. I can touch it up a little bit, which is fine. So yeah, there is no instructions with this figure as well, but honestly it seemed pretty straightforward. Unlike the Power Resin figure that I reviewed that had a lot of parts, this one really doesn't, which is nice. So I'm gonna do it in, I guess, the order I feel like is easiest for me. So I'm gonna start with putting, obviously, Waka all together. And yeah, the first piece we have right here is his torso. I feel like it does have some like subtle, like darker pink shading. His little pom-poms on the front are, you know, sculpted to have a little bit of texture to them. But yeah, it's a pretty nice piece. Again, I do like how they're kind of trying to replicate the Okami art style in this with these sort of like thicker black strokes on the figure to represent like wrinkles. So yeah, it should simply just go on here, and I think pretty much all of the pieces have magnets. So this one just goes on here, which is very simple, very easy. So I'm also going to be showing off first like him with the flute, and then I'll go into like the exclusive edition accessories afterwards. So yeah, first we have his little like katana holder, scabbard. That's the name, the scabbard. And you do have the handle for his katana separately. Gold paint looks very nice on here, as well as the sculpting. So this just simply slots in right onto right onto the scabbard, which does require a little bit of force, but at least it's a pretty good hold. And then you have the long peg that you just gotta insert into the side. You do have to kind of angle it slightly because the peg has like a certain shape to it, but it just easily goes in like that. Afterwards, we have his two hands, the ones that are meant to be holding the flute. So for this one, I would probably recommend putting in the hand with the flute first and then having this one go in second. So yeah, very easy, right there, pretty simple, which is good. And now I just gotta pick up his head, which is, I actually have the massive box here with all the pieces on top, which is nice. But the head I did have to kind of put on the floor because it's just way too big, so let me just go ahead and pick that up. So then the last piece to Waka is his head and his headdress right here, which looks absolutely amazing. Again, I just love the way it flows out. The sculpting is fantastic, and just that airbrushing that they did on the, I guess like the cloth part, like these like wings, quote unquote, look very, very nice. And then his head sculpt, also very nice. I like the way they sculpted his hair as well. It's a very sort of bright and vibrant yellow. And yeah, I feel like he also does have some subtle shading with his skin tone, which is nice, and his nails are actually sculpted. So yeah, I'm just gonna put this just right on here. Okay. Yeah, but you do have to kind of push in at the end. But yeah, there is the first configuration right here. Honestly, very easy assembly. Not really too many parts. And yeah, oh my god, he looks gorgeous. And I like how, at least like the wings, like they don't really like jut out too far to the sides, which would be obnoxious. So also, I almost forgot, I thought I was done, but I completely forgot about the foliage. There are some separate little plant pieces that you have to stick onto the base. So we have this first one right here. Just pretty much like match the peg to the holes, and obviously look at the promo photos, it makes it a lot easier. So this one should go right here on the side. Again, I think they all should have magnets, and they have like long metal pegs, or rods I should say, to kind of keep them in place. So next up, we do have a couple of other little pieces right here. There are multiple of these kind of flower looking pieces, which go around the base, and there's 4 of them. I'm gonna have to figure out which one goes exactly where, because I mean, some are a little bit smaller than others, but like, I don't know, I'll have to look at like the pig itself. So let's see if I can figure where these are supposed to go based on the promo photos. Okay, after taking an eternity with trying to figure out where these little flowers go, I did it. For the most part, this one like all the way in the back right here, it doesn't quite go in all the way. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's where it's supposed to go, unless I put it in the wrong spot. I'm not too sure, because we have this piece right here which is supposed to go next to it, so I'm gonna see if I maybe just mixed up the peg holes and everything. Okay, and lastly we have this foliage piece right here, which should go on like the left side of the figure. This side, I should say. Hopefully it's not too bad. Alright, and there we go. The first... Okay, so there is all the foliage where it's supposed to be for the most part. Again, I'm just confused about like this section to the right over here. But I'll worry about that a little bit later. You'll probably see the hopefully proper way it's supposed to go in during the close-up assembly process. So yeah. So off camera I'm gonna be like dismantling at least Waka a little bit, just so I can have him set up for the second display option. So yeah, we're now moving on to the exclusive edition parts, so I kind of disassembled him a little bit. So yeah, these parts come separate. He has like an extra sleeve part, as well as a hand holding his sword, which has some, again, nice weight to it. And the sculpting and the coloring is very nicely done on here. The one thing I do feel like is a little bit weird with maybe my copy of it is that, like, I feel like the handle is supposed to kind of curve with like the sword, and this looks a little bit wonky. You'll see it in some close-ups, but I think it's a little bit off, which is unfortunate. So yeah, these came separately, so all you have to pretty much do is just put these together, which I did kind of struggle a little bit. I was doing a little bit of, again, finagling off camera, and it was a little bit tricky to kind of put these in like all the way. I had to use a little bit of force to do so, but at least with the sword holding the hand, it's not that bad. So yeah, once you get it in, you just kind of have to like push it a little bit and make sure it doesn't like wobble or anything. So like that. So just be careful. Obviously, don't do what I just did on camera, because I felt it actually shake on the inside. So yeah, that one's there. So this one is gonna go on his left side. So we're just gonna, you know, kind of like, there we go. That goes in like so. So now moving on to his hand holding pillow talk, as well as his other sleeve. I did notice in this one, unfortunately, that there is like kind of like a crack on the inside, where like the metal rod is supposed to go into, and I'm hoping it doesn't completely fall apart, because then I don't think I'll be able to display him with this. So we'll see. You'll see it in some B-roll once again of what I'm talking about. But this piece took a little bit of more force than the other configuration. But yeah, this took a little bit more force actually to put in than his left hand. So I'm gonna try and do this. Hopefully it works. Because I mean, again, I did a little finagling, so hopefully it goes through. Yeah, okay. Alright, so not too bad, but it does require a lot of force, and just be careful that you don't accidentally snap the lightsaber part off. So we're just gonna put this on the other side, which shouldn't be that hard. And then lastly, of course, putting the head back on. So here is the second configuration all complete. So looks absolutely amazing. The one thing, of course, I would be careful with is because pillow talk itself does jut out a little bit. So you just have to be careful. If you have a shelf that's not too deep, you could possibly knock into this and break it off. So yeah, but he's gorgeous. I love it so much. I'm just happy to have a figure of like one of my favorite characters in my collection. So now let's just jump right into the figure overview and hopefully get some better close-ups of the assembly process for this figure. So now we are going into some B-roll of the box itself. As you can tell, it is absolutely massive, taking up all this room on my little rolling table. Of course, if you got the exclusive edition, it would have that sticker right on the box. I'm not too sure if the regular edition has that as well, but the exclusive edition definitely will have that. A couple of descriptions on the back of the box. Of course, I got number 42 out of 300 of this figure that was made. And yeah, just some pictures of the figure, some promotional photos, really. And yeah, the box quality I feel like is good. It did its job protecting the figure itself. However, it did get a couple of dents in the mail, but thankfully nothing too bad that it damaged any of the parts inside the box. And now finally we're going on to assembling this figure. So some of the foliage already comes on the base along with Waka's legs, so that's already attached to there. And we're going to be starting off with his torso first. Very hefty piece right here. Really do like the paintwork, pretty clean, the shading looks nice, and the little puffballs have a nice texture to them as well. And then we have his left and right hands. So this one is the configuration where he holds the flute. And yeah, so these are the regular edition parts to the figure itself, so I'm going to start off with these. And yeah, I like the little wood look to the flute itself, very nice detailing there. And yeah, so of course, this is a resin figure. It's gonna come with magnets, so I just stick that onto the sides of the torso. Torso is very easy to put right on the base itself. So yeah, I had to kind of like maneuver it a little bit. Again, doing this on camera a little bit more tricky so I don't block the figure. But yeah, I have to give them just a little bit of push, and yeah, just do them in this order. It's a little bit easier. And then we have, of course, the plants themselves. Again, I think that these came out pretty cool looking. Again, pretty accurate to the game itself. Very nice matte black finish to this plant right here, along with this very nice green. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I struggled with putting some of these plants in the base. Again, just kind of maneuvering and such. I had to do a lot of cuts because I just really struggled to put these on camera. And yeah, this plant has to be like one of my favorites, just the sculpt work on it with the leaves and then the paint work as well. So yeah, that one just simply goes right in there. Again, the angle a little bit awkward, but I got it in. And yeah, so again, with this resin figure, there really isn't any instructions. You can pretty much do this any order you want. I did put some parts of Waka together, and then I moved on to putting the plants on the base themselves. And yeah, we have a bunch of these like little flowery looking plants right here of different shapes and sizes that go on the base. So yeah, just a lot of foliage to put in. And yeah, again, I think these are cool, the sculpt work, the shading. Thankfully they are different heights, so it kind of helps differentiate where they're supposed to go. Again, I kind of had to use the picture on the box as well as some promo photos to see where exactly some of these go. Again, I do maybe wish this came with instructions. It would make it a little bit easier for me. And now we have, of course, his scabbard. Very nice matte black to this, and it has a little metal rod and I guess a little magnet as well there, which is gonna go right on his left hip. And of course, the handle for his sword. Very nice gold paint and very nice sculpt work on the handle. So yeah, that just simply goes into there. Yeah, so if you want to do the different configurations for the figure, you can at least easily remove that piece. And yeah, putting this, again, a little bit tricky because of the angle, but yeah, it should just go right in like that. And then the creme de la creme, Waka's head with the hat already attached. Very, very gorgeous. Really very iconic part of the character, that hat. And yeah, his face was very well done. Again, the tips of the hat, very nice airbrushing to that. And yeah, very nice thick outlines. Again, trying to mimic the art style of the game. And that just simply goes in there. You just have to push it down. And then we are going on to the exclusive edition parts. Of course, we have this sword. God, his hand looks so gorgeous. It feels so like delicate and dainty. I don't know, just very gorgeous hand sculpt. And yeah, so you do have to kind of just remove some extra little pieces and just fit that in. Again, I don't know, a little tricky. I struggled with this a bit. And then we have, of course, his hand with pillow talk already attached together, which is very nice. Again, very nice hand sculpting. Even like the fingernails are sculpted in. Very, very cool. And then yes, we have the other arm that holds pillow talk right here, which you just simply gotta put that in again. Right there. And yeah, not too bad. I mean, I just struggled with the angle mainly, but there it is, all attached. And then it's just a matter of putting it on the figure itself. Already took some other pieces off, but you put, yep, pillow talk on the right side, the other sword on his left side. Easily goes in that. It's pretty secure, which is good. And then I put the head on once again. And yeah, that one is the exclusive edition. Of course, I'll show some more in some B-roll, but that's the assembly all set. So now going into the figure itself, starting off with the very bottom, actually. It has the edition number, and I like how it has these little pads on the side. If you're moving the figure, you don't have to worry about scraping the bottom. The authenticity card, which I did already redeem. It's a simple little bonus right there. And now finally moving on to the figure himself. Absolutely stunning. Again, I am just overall happy to have this character, like a figure of Waka, one of my favorite husbandos in my collection. It's been a long time coming because again, I saw him like on my figure collection like 2 years ago, like the announcement, and then they didn't really do much with him, which was a little bit, upsetting. I'm like, are we ever gonna get him? But now we finally do. And yeah, just the sculpt of him overall is fantastic, from his hands to his clothing. And again, it has that sort of resin figure heft to it. The parts feel pretty nice quality overall. Again, I am super happy nothing came broken, which is always good. And yeah, just the wrinkles, the folds. I do like the thick kind of black outlines on the figure. Kind of trying to have that sort of similar style to the game. And of course the foliage. I do quite like the look of them. Various shades of green. I do like some of the darker and lighter shading on certain pieces. Like I think on the Monstera leaf, there's some very nice like shading work and just detailing on those. I think the plans came out very, very cool. And yeah, showing a lot of different parts of the figure. And of course, the most iconic part of this character is definitely the hat. I think this came out absolutely amazing. It's very massive. I do like the airbrushing on the tips. Very clean, nothing too splotchy, which is always very nice. And yeah, so that was the, of course, exclusive edition. So we have now the regular edition with him with the flute and the sword in the sheath. And yeah, of course, exclusive edition. I really do love the way Pillow Talk looks, his lightsaber sword, and how you can have also the katana sticking in his hand. And yeah, definitely, a lot of money for this figure, especially with getting those extra pieces. But for me, it was worth it. If there is like a figure of one of my favorite husbandos and it comes with extra parts, of course, I'm gonna get that. And yeah. Again, the gold on the sword looks very, very nice. The black on this scabbard is very clean. Some places to nitpick. This unfortunate little paint mishap on this plant right here. On his hair is a little bit slightly scuffed. I might try and clean it up or patch it up. And then maybe a little bit hard to see, but there were some slightly, like, very minuscule little dark areas on the white part of his hat, and then the back of his left shoe got a little bit scuffed. But, I can probably paint that. And then, of course, we have him next to Miku on the very bottom of my shelf, because that's really where he would fit. And, of course, the light-up base, absolutely stunning. I really love this rippling water effect right on there. Very, very, very beautiful. And I like how it has different modes as well, like this, where it kind of fades in and out. Absolutely amazing. I wish I could have this on all the time, but alas, I don't. And then Pillow Talk, it kind of lights up okay. I probably didn't keep it out in the sun for super long. And of course, I'm not displaying him with Pillow Talk because it's at the very bottom of my shelf, and I do fear that if something fell on top of it, it would snap the sword. So I have him with the regular edition items. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the figure. I'm just super happy to have him finally in my collection. Now we're going to be going into some size comparisons. So we have, of course, the Waka resin statue by First4Figures next to the Nendoroid of Amaterasu by Max Factory. After that, we're moving on to a pop-up parade. Of course, I had to include the Amaterasu pop-up parade next to this massive Waka figure. After that, we have a 1/8 scale figure, which is of Merlin from, of course, Fig Grind Order, made by Alter for their Altair line. After that, we have a 1/7 scale figure, the Shimian Maifu Miku scale by Good Small Company. After that, we have a 1/6 figure of Mauve by Rocket Boy. And then we have a 1/5 scale figure, the Inbina Resetsuhime figure. And then the very last figure, of course, the 1/4 scale figure, Hatsune Miku My Dear Bunny version by Freeing. As you can tell, I did have to hold her on camera because Waka just took up way too much space for my little moving table right here. So now we're going into my overall thoughts, and obviously, as this is a figure of one of my husbandos, of course, I am very, very happy with how he turned out overall. The sculpt work on him is fantastic, from his clothing to his hat to, of course, the foliage on the base. I really just love the sculpting on some of the plants, and the wrinkles and folds on his outfit are very well done. And the paintwork, for the most part, is also pretty good. I really love the various shades of green for the plants on the base, as well as for Waka himself. And of course, I really do like the base, how they sculpted in the rippling water, and then of course the LED, obviously a very cool little bonus, and I like how it has the different modes. If you just want it to be just on, or if you want it to have sort of a fade in and out effect, I think that's obviously very cool to get with a figure. And then for the assembly process, I feel like it was overall not too bad. Yes, on camera I did kind of struggle and I had to cut out some parts. I do maybe wish that there were some slight instructions to tell you where certain parts go. Again, the foliage was my main struggle, just trying to find out which particular plants goes where, and even when I did find it, where they're supposed to go. It was a little bit tricky just to get the angle right just to put the plants in, but nothing that would take me like over an hour to do, I would say. And now moving on to some nitpicks and dislikes about the figure. So for me personally, as a nitpick, I wish that the pose was a little bit more dynamic. Yes, the exclusive edition with the extra hand parts definitely gives a little bit of more variety to the figure, but he's just standing there at the end of the day. So for me personally, I just would have liked a little bit more of a dynamic or actiony pose. That's just me personally. And then moving on to some issues, at least with my copy of the figure, and that is, unfortunately, there were some paint defects. Again, on that one plant, it was a little bit off with the paint, and then some paint chipped off the back of his left shoe, which does suck. Thankfully, they're not too noticeable up close, and I can always patch them up, so that's not an issue. And then there was just some of those little, like, darker spots on his hat. They're not, like, pitch black or anything, but they are, like, very, like, light. So yeah, I hate when paint ends up on, like, a white part of a figure, but thankfully that part is not too noticeable. And the last thing that I personally worry about is long-term display with this figure. Considering that he came out of the box already on the base, like his lower half at least, I did look at his shoes, which are supposed to be, I believe, called Geta, single-toothed Geta, and, you know, I worry about all the weight from his torso to his arms to his head kind of weighing this figure down over time, and, you know, him possibly just like leaning forward and snapping off the base. That's what makes me very nervous with displaying him long term. And yeah, but he is kind of technically leaning back, so there might be some weight distribution there. I'm trying to think of the dynamics and science of making sure that this figure doesn't completely fall apart, because again, resin is heavy. His torso is heavy, his head is heavy, so yeah, I'm worried about all that just weighing down and him just possibly snapping off the base. That would not be good. So we'll just have to see. Again, as I'm recording this in November, he is still good. I didn't notice him leaning or anything. So yeah, that's just something I noticed. Again, the pieces for his shoes aren't super thin, but again, I'm just worried about like the weight of the resin itself. And now moving on to getting this figure after it's been released. So again, I am no expert on resin figures in the aftermarket, so I personally can't give too many good suggestions on where you can get resin figures once they've been released if you didn't pre-order them. I know that some people sometimes get them off of eBay, and there might be like, you know, Favorite GK and such. Favorite GK I used to get my power resin in the past, and I had a pretty good experience with them. But actually on First4Figures website, it does say that this Waka figure is still in stock, both the exclusive edition and the regular edition, which is quite nice, which is good. And it looks like you can pay in installments, or you can just pay completely up front, which I guess is good. There's at least a little bit of payment options there. But yeah, so again, as of November I'm recording this, it says he is still in stock on the First4Figures website. So yeah, that's overall gonna just conclude this section. you know, I would recommend this figure if you're a big Okami fan. But yeah, it is, of course, again, very expensive, so just a heads up. And yeah, First4Figures does make quite a few Okami figures. They have up for pre-order right now their Ninetales figure, which I'm not going to pick up. It's an arm and a leg, and I don't have room for another big resin figure. So yeah, there's that. I think a lot of their Okami figures look very stunning, but you know, I missed the pre-order window for past ones, and again, I'm just prioritizing Waka mainly from my collection from them. And yeah, this is pretty much going to be like my last resin figure, possibly, because again, expensive, and then with the tariffs going on, that's gonna be like a nightmare and expensive extra cost to get the figure. So yeah, I'm just kind of putting off resin figures unless I see one of a character I really love and who doesn't have a PVC figure, then I'll make an exception there. So I do hope that my review of this figure helps with your decision on whether or not you want to pick up this resin statue or not. So yes, we're finally at the outro of this video, but now after waiting for so long since he was first announced, he's finally here. I'm super happy to have him. I think they did a pretty great job with him overall. Do I have some slight gripes with the figure? Yes. And do I wish that there were certain elements in terms of like figure design that were maybe different? Yes. But I should just feel grateful to have a figure of Waka in general be made in the first place. So yeah, hopefully in terms of resins, he's like my last big one. Again, I just try to stay away from resins. They're extremely pricey, they're very big, and yeah, of course, I just make exceptions for ones of my favorite characters who do not have any sort of like official smaller PVC figure made. That's just me personally. So also, I forgot to mention that I do have this little plushie of Waka, kind of like this sort of zoom style, that's officially made merch. So yeah, other than that, I just have like fan-made merch of him, the resin, and this is the only two like officially made merch I have of this character. I'm just happy to have him out of the box, and I'm just overall glad that nothing came broken. That was just the most important part. And yeah, so of course in the future for Okami, I'm as always excited to hear some more news on Okami 2. I'm curious if Waka will make an appearance of some sort in the game, because he's still alive, so that's gonna be cool. I'm very excited for that game whenever it comes out in the very distant future. So thank you all so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you do enjoy my content and would like to, of course, feel free to take the time to subscribe to my channel to see what other figure and merch related shenanigans I get into next. So I hope you all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or night wherever you are, and take it easy. Goodbye.